How you going, everyone? All Things Bulldogs, episode 55. We're going to New Zealand. It's a battle of Shaun Johnson Stadium for the fourth week in a row. Another sold-out stadium, semi-final football. I've been talking about it for a long time. It started for us a long time ago, but now it's really warming up. I wrote this game off as a loss in my predictor all season. The most experienced side in the NRL is coming up against the least experienced side. I'm already making excuses. But I've got D on here. How you going, Dave? Welcome again.
Yeah, great to be back. Big week, another great week. Lots to talk about. Yeah, ready to get into it.
Beautiful, man. Thank you so much for coming on again. And some real good stuff's happening over the next couple of weeks. I have had an interview with someone from the Bulldogs. It just has to be approved, and we'll get it out there, and it'll be on all the good podcast stations like Spotify and that. I'll do it comprehensively so everyone can have a listen. We've got a couple of people on. G'day, Jamie. Welcome to the show, mate. We're on Wednesday nights now. That way Doggies fans can get as much content as they can and get to interact live as much as they can with all the other good podcasts out there. Haven't really posted this anywhere, so we will get notifications as we move along and answer some of your questions. But we're going to talk about the game against the Warriors. We will talk about last week's game. Going to start bringing the ratings back. So D's going to... he's going to give his ratings for the previous game, so we get to talk about all the players and how they went, which is, I think, is a good thing rather than that focusing on, the best player all the time. Maybe we get to focus on a few and also throw it to you guys and see what you think about those insights as well. We're also going to talk a little bit about the team, how it's been such a good performance and how the system's really working, how we haven't really lost a beat when we've had players step up. And, it's just been one of those seasons where everything we thought we knew about rugby league, we soon realised we knew half as much as what we thought we did. I think that is a fair consensus a reasonable Bulldogs fan would take. The NRL Immortal is going to be named tonight. I don't know if it'll be named while we're on air. If it is, can someone let me know who it is? It should be Steve Mortimer or Terry Lamb. We should have had Stephen Folkes in the Hall of Fame. But that's not to rain on anyone else's parade either. That's just my belief. All right, so let's get into it in a moment. I'll just go through a couple of the early chats. Jamie saying he doesn't have to watch on his phone and on his TV. The Clutch, how you going, The Clutch? Welcome to All Things Bulldogs. Jamie's asking if you know Alan Teasdale. G'day, Bulldog fans and others. Hello, Mr. Mark O'Connell. Welcome back, my friend. And Jamie doesn't know Alan Teasdale, or he's saying he doesn't because maybe Alan's done some good things or some not so good things. You never know in a question like that, do you? This show proudly brought to you by Uberdad Couriers, small goods and food delivery. I'm just plugging my own one-man operation, guys. It pays for the show, so you don't need to pay me money for me to be able to pay for the costs of this podcast. We don't need any of it. The avenues are there if you want, but it's completely up to you. We don't care about any of that. We're just here to have a good old chat, aren't we, Dave?
Yeah, mate.
All right. How's it going, boys? Dogs are on top. How good? When will Matt Lodge sign? Well, Mark, that's a good question because Mixed Rugby Chat was the one who released that. And unfortunately, there's a couple of Bulldogs. There's a Bulldogs page and there's also one on Instagram who do a lot of good stuff. Don't get me wrong, and I use a lot of their stuff, but at the same time, anything that they see, they just post it. Mixed Rugby Chat is someone is a Penrith fan who loves to troll Bulldogs pages and sites with misinformation. I don't think there's ever been anything that they've said which has actually turned out to be true yet. So there you go. Matt Lodge, and I was really happy that Adam Drewisi came out and actually knocked that one on the head straight away. No, we won't be signing Matt Lodge. Any thoughts on that, Dave?
Yeah, well, it's the first I've heard of it, but my thoughts are that he wouldn't fit into the team. He wouldn't fit into the system, and that's got nothing to do with off field. I don't see him being a hard worker, and no, that's a no for me.
It's a no for me as well. But while we're at it, actually, Mark's just said it. What about RCG signing for $750K? Well, the good thing, Mark, is we'll never know what we pay any player because the Dogs never really say anything. I think there's been 3 players that have had their salaries mentioned, or maybe 4. That's Josh Addo-Carr, Matt Burton, Crichton, and Kickout. That's it. Oh, and Reed Marnie. So there's 5. They're the only 5 we've ever really heard that are probably close to the mark.
Yeah.
But everyone else, you would not have a clue what Carraz earns. You wouldn't have a clue what Max King earns. Satili Tupanua, someone saying 600, but that was released when they when he was at the Roosters. So RCG's passed it. Shouldn't go for more than 300K. Don't think Raygun Campbell Gillard will fit in our system. Well, I reckon I'm going to oppose in that. All right. Raygun Campbell Gillard. I saw that meme actually. That was quite funny. I've been watching RCG all year, and a couple of mates of mine have as well. And I think he's the only sort of player. If there's a prop out there at the moment, it's basically I'm like status quo, business as usual. I'm liking what I'm seeing from the young guys coming through. I think the system's going to work, whoever we put in there. But I think Regan Campbell Gillard, no matter what anyone else wants to tell me, has been one of Parramatta's best all season. And I think he runs off the back fence. He skittles players. He makes a real effort to try and up the energy, even when he's been on there for 20 minutes and the other team brings on their other forwards. I would say Junior Paulo has been down a little bit this year, but RCG to me has been their standout forward all season. And, I think is he worth 800 grand to us though? I'm not sure. I can't answer that question. But is he a player that I would welcome to the club? Definitely. For how much? That's for the club to decide, as far as I'm concerned.
I wouldn't be disappointed if they signed him, but I just don't think he's the right option. I don't think we really need that many players. If we're going to sign one, maybe just one more forward, but it wouldn't be him.
Yeah, well, my opinion is the status quo works perfectly fine for me. If they bring RCG into our club, I'm happy as Larry. But
the other thing is, like, I find we're establishing forwards or players. So I don't think we need to buy established players. We just need to buy fringe players and turn them into established players. That's we're the opportunity club. So I don't think we need to pay overs anymore.
Yeah. Well, I still think it's all part of a strategy. We're linked to every player. Gus doesn't dismiss most of it. It really forced Melbourne, Oitika Manu, whether we were really in for that or not, it really forced the Melbourne Storm to publicly get their act together and get things sorted. And they've had to move a lot of things around to make that happen. Gus is a very smart man. Whether you love him or hate him, he knows exactly what he's doing in that space. And, everyone thinks they know Gus Gould, but, including me. But, yeah, I think one thing I know is he knows salary caps and he knows what a player's worth to that cap.
Yeah.
G'day, Scary. Jamie says he doesn't know if RCG will keep up to the fitness. He's a good player. He just don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, look, the way I see it, you're probably going to get, 2 or 3 years out of him. But who's he replace? Whose pathway does he block? Exactly. They've just signed Lipoi Hopboy for 2 years. They've extended Jack Underhill. Jack Todd's come up from the Greater Northern Tigers, like Eli Clark and some others, Logan Spinks. these guys are going to play in a role next year, no doubt about that. And do we really need him? I think it's more just media spin than actual reality for us at this point. But as I said, if he come to our club, it doesn't mean I think it's going to make us more able to win a comp. But he is a good forward. There's no doubt about it. The King back this week. What do you reckon, Dave? Is he going to play or not?
I'm not sure. I guess it all depends on Curran's injury. He was due to come back this week, but it was an optimistic time frame. I think that was his sort of time frame, not necessarily the physios or whatever. So we'll see. It'd be great if we did. I mean, that will be probably the first time we've been full strength all year.
Yeah, well, let's get the team up and have a look while we're at it. Friday night, 6 p.m. at Shaun Johnson Stadium. Let's present that up and have a look at it. Warriors versus Bulldogs. So, Charles Nickel Clodstad is back. Pretty much this Warriors side is their best team that they could name, in my opinion. The most experienced side in the comp. There is meters galore. They're the number one meters side. That was like that against us. They lost their entire back three during the game against us. And from perceptively, I believe they looked the better side, even though they were they were wounded. Their season was on the line. They fought their heart out. At our home ground, we got the win with a bit of luck as well. Luke Metcalf makes a big difference to them, I believe. Shaun Johnson, his last season, and that forward pack is as good as they can get it. And the young Dimitri Sifakula was, I'm pretty sure he was the one who made that big break, wasn't he? Yeah. Against us when he came on. So that is a fantastic team. That is the team that was looking like it could dare to dream last year, and now it cannot make the finals. But talking about our side, which we're going to go through the ratings of last week, Connor Tracy, it's the same lineup as last week that's been named. With Gerald Skelton at 19th man, named for New South Wales Cup. Lipboy Hotboy named for New South Wales Cup. Eli Clark as well. Drew Hutchison and Max King, the extended bench. Who would Max replace in the side if he was to come in? Because I don't think, just say Josh Curran's fit to play. Who does Max replace?
Well, it's got to be Harry Hayes. I think most people will agree. He's been great, but I think he's the forward on the bench, the front rower.
So Curran goes back to the bench and then King to start, or maybe they ease King into it.
Yeah. Look, if he's 100% fit, he starts, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now, I wonder what Mark's got to say about that, because he'd probably be very upset if Harry Hayes gets dropped.
Yeah, well, I heard a few people on the kennel say that they didn't really rate him. But, I think you got to temper your expectations a bit on that, because I think he's just done so well coming in, like he's done his role perfectly. He doesn't miss tackles. He might not have like a great leg drive and push through tackles. He gets dominated a bit, but he keeps getting up and he keeps coming. And that's all you can ask. Like like I said, he's kind of like a bigger version of Moran. They're brilliant. They're a great duo.
Mm. Jamie, I like your comment there. Tom Amos, Satili Tupanua to come next year, and Daniel Saluka for feeder in New South Wales Cup, who on his return had about 6 or 7 runs for about 110 metres, which it was nearly 20 metres a hit up.
And he's starting as well in reserve grade, yeah.
I thought Poasa looked like someone who could, toughen up and stand up to big forward packs. Saluka for feeder, he's probably got twice the leg speed from what I could see. and skittled twice as many players. Even though it was New South Wales Cup, Powasa does really well in New South Wales Cup as well. But I think he's a next level up, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Harry Hayes is better than Sam Hughes. This is where we get silly, Mark. This is where we get silly. Harry can't start the game and hold that middle, mate, the same way. Horses for courses, they're not playing the same game. Harry is playing a different role to what Sam Hughes is. So this is what I want to talk about tonight as well, Dave, is the roles within the team and why we have been so good and not missed a beat when players have come in.
I guess rather than thinking about it and saying Hayes is better than Hughes, I think say Hughes is better because of Hayes. You know, the fact that he's able to come on and continue the work that Hughes does. Yeah, we're just a good team. I wouldn't be comparing them to each other.
Exactly. I think it's it's like the first and second hit up guy mentality. You've got to have, Max King in his first year with us was great for him. It was great to have an experienced, consistent, top 5, top 6 front rower every year that he played in Paul Vaughan. He got to run off the back of that, and that helped him immensely. When Paul Vaughan went and he had to transition into a new training style, he discussed this in an interview. It made it hard, and it was really hard defensively at first to get his assignment. But now that he knows what he's doing, he's nailing it. And it's a system. It's a system.
Yep. Well, I don't think our forwards would be anywhere near as effective if we didn't have the first couple of plays from our outside backs. Getting the yardage they do with the quick play the balls. Like running off a quick play the ball is so much easier than having the defense, right in your face.
100% agree. So we have the first hit up man is usually Sam Hughes. So he's taken the return off the kickoff for a start. Harry's done a few of them actually as well at different points. But then they go with Carraz or Wilson, whoever's there on that role. And they don't always make yards either. But the idea is for them to get down and get the next play of the ball, and then they go from there. And they have so much variation in what they do. But that's where the one constant thing that they do from the kickoff. So, someone was saying yesterday, Kurt Mann, for example, we need to utilise him more. I'm like, well, his role in the team is to be the first link man, basically to be Nathan Cleary, to be what James Graham used to be Isaiah Yeo, all those players, great players.
Yeah.
He does that for 2 plays every set when he's in attack. That's what he does. If he's not there, Bailey Hayward comes on and does that. Then if Reed needs a rest, Bailey moves to hooker or Kurt goes to hooker. And then if Salmon moves into the middle, that's what he does, 2 plays per set. And all of them can pass left, can pass right, and put the ball on the chest of the halfback.
Yep.
All
of them are comfortable playing in multiple positions, on playing on the left, playing on the right, playing in the middle. Yeah, it's great.
Like I used to be so bloody autistic about, my daughter's autistic, so I can speak about it. But be so rigid is probably a nicer word to use. In players had to play left, players had to play right. But get with the program. Serrato and the coaching staff have been working since he got to the club to find players that can play both sides of the field, pass both ways, play in the middle if they need to play in the middle. They've bought footballers. The interview has been about, is this person in it for only themselves and their own reasons, or are they in it to make our club better?
Yeah.
And
You've got to buy into that the team first mentality. Yeah.
Club first mentality.
Club first, sorry, yeah.
If putting the club first means you don't even play for the weekend,
That's a good point. Yeah.
You go and run water with the boys. You go and see someone in hospital. That's how you'll put the club first.
Yeah, well,
Not
it's a good point because one thing I noticed, Perham, when he's around the group, he just seems so happy to be around there, and you'd think he'd be kicking stones, but no. So yeah, he's definitely buying in.
Clutch reiterated what you said, mate. Hughes makes Harry's role easier.
Yeah.
Harry looks like me, mate. Harry's a very good-looking man, mate. I don't think he's ugly at all. Jamie says Hughes has more experience and he has more of an impact, and I'd rather have Hayes run at me than Hughes. But in saying that, Harry Hayes, we love him. Like when I asked Dave that question, that wasn't easy for him to answer, but you got to take the least experienced person in who's playing a role in your side and bring the experience in.
Yeah.
That's just what you got to do, and they all know it. They welcome it. They know that if King comes in, one of them are going. It won't be Kurt Moran, or it won't be anyone else unless they're carrying an injury.
Yeah.
Kurt Man is yo for sure, and he is good at. That's what I said. He's the first receiver for two plays per set.
I wouldn't swap Kurt Mann for Yo.
No, me either. And I honestly think that both of them come from they were both wingers.
Yeah. I
But Kurt Mann's got better footwork.
Yeah. Yep.
We need to remember Harry's playing out of position. Yeah, and he's doing a bloody good job of it. He's a second rower, and he's actually a really good centre as well. He was playing centre for Jersey Fleet last year. So let's get back at looking at this team, mate. What one-on-one battles? I think you see the battles more in. What do you think about the Warriors and how they're going, Dave?
I don't know. Did you want to go back to the Dolphins game first and then come back to this?
Yeah, let's do it. I might bring up just the game from last week and the players. What a win it was.
What did you think about the win? What was your opinion?
I was very, very pleased, as were most of us. I think we controlled the game. I felt that the Dolphins were playing a very similar game plan to us. We just did it better. I think Wayne Bennett summed it up pretty well. We dominated possession, completion similar. But yeah, we were just good in every facet of the game. But one thing you were talking about, how we're getting away quick, our play the ball speed on the weekend, 3.23 seconds, which is close to our best for the year. We are last by a long way in post-contact meters.
Yep.
But it's where we're getting around the field. It's where we end up in defending.
Yeah, it's also Matt Burton's kicking game.
It's all by design, and Matt Burton helps a hell of a lot. And also helps when they can do things so well that Toby Sexton can come in and do 2 or 3 kicks in a row as well. Yep. Effective tackles were down. That's probably the first time the opposition side has missed more tackles than us. And a game where both sides only missed 20 to 22 tackles, which tells you the quality of the contact. And if that's something we can like, I'm expecting 40 or 50 against the Warriors, but if we can do less than that, it's going to take us a long way as well. But as we know, they're not all the same. What were your thoughts on the game?
Pretty much mirrored what you said. It was a solid win, a comfortable win, a great win, really. It's kind of the win that you'd expect a team that's really going to go deep into the finals, every year that we've sort of made a grand final, I think we just keep getting better towards the finals. Like, we'll even put a 60-point score on someone eventually. I don't know if that will happen because we got Manly and the Cowboys to come, but great win. I'm a little bit worried about this week, but yeah. Did you want me to start with some ratings?
We'll go through some ratings down, mate, and then I'll get to everybody's chat. So tell us what you think about the ratings that Dave comes up with.
Yeah, so I'll go through Connor Tracy. He was good. I thought at times he looked a little bit flat. I thought he finished the game really strongly, which was a good sign. I'll give him an 8.5 out of 10.
Yep.
And anyone in the chat, if I'd like to hear your opinions on what you'd give each player as well. Karaz, I thought he was one of the best. I gave him a 9. He scored the 2 tries, almost 300 meters. Again, he looked flat after he scored his first try, and you can't blame him after he winded himself. But he just kept coming. He kept coming. And, mate, he's probably been the most consistent player all year. And definitely Dally M winger of the year, and probably the best winger in the whole game, I think, at the moment.
I can't argue with that. Statistically, he leads about 4 areas across the whole comp, and he's also way up there in other areas that he shouldn't be.
If he doesn't get Dally M winger, it's because we've got too many good players that will be sharing votes.
Yeah, well, they do it on the vote, see?
Yeah,
and that's the problem. But he's definitely someone who would have got a fair few votes over the season. I think Brian Toto will win. That's just my opinion. But I think Jacob Carraz is, or actually, I think Zach Lomax is probably going to win as a standout in his club. But Jacob Carraz, I believe, is outplayed, being the better player.
Yeah, so I gave him a 9. What do you think? I could change that to a 9.5 if you pulled my arm, but I think it was an outstanding performance.
Yeah, I was definitely one in the context of the game. We played it his way. His role was to get the ball. The Dolphins, where they ended up, Carraz was there, but everything Carraz did, he executed, which is the main thing. Didn't have the mistakes that he had the previous week. I'd have to agree. 9 out of 10 is a very good score. 9.5, I think there's more improvement in him.
Yeah, agreed. So Bronson Xerri, you mentioned last week that you thought it was his best game against the Dragons, and while I do tend to agree, I felt like this week he had more highlight moments. Not more highlights. Sorry, he stood out for me more. He took some really hard carries out of yardage at times when, as I mentioned, I thought Tracy and Carraz were a bit flat, and definitely the Fox. After he had those 2 big runs, he didn't want to run the ball anymore. Every time the ball came to him, he threw it to Tracy. So I think Xerri really stood up in that game for that reason, and I gave him an 8.5. I thought he was really, really good.
Yeah, he's just been a revelation for us, Bronson Xerri, to do what he's done after the 4 years out, and continue to improve.
Yes, he really is.
He's heading a level higher than I thought he would even get close to this season. And knowing that he's only going to get better and better is just a great thing. What do you reckon about Critter, the captain?
Yeah, he was really quiet. But I think he's a player that can be quiet but still have an influence on the game. I gave him an 8, but yeah, he like I said, he was quiet, so there wasn't really much to talk about, to be honest.
I feel he's one thing I love about Critter is when he does take that run, it's never a rubbish run. He hits the line, he skittles a couple of players, and he gets some post contact, and he gets away a quick play of the ball. His assist for Carraz for the first try was class.
Yeah.
His role is to do everything that he does, and that's what I mean. I keep alluding to it. I saw lots of signs of it last year with the way that they use players in different capacities at different times.
Yes.
They have their work. They have their people. Okay, you're doing the work. And it's a case of, and the other people are kept fresh for the moments, and that's the way I see it. And probably good that you, before you give the rating on Josh Adokar, I felt that he was putting in the work early in that match. But yeah, he's obviously not fit, and getting those runs under his belt's definitely going to help. He was blowing more than anyone out there, to be honest. It got to him having those big long runs, I tell you. As it would. You're running, 160 meters.
Yeah. So for the Fox, I gave him an 8. I can't really add much to what you just mentioned. He was good. A lot more improvement through fitness.
Yeah,
but he brings an energy that is pretty unique, and I'm glad we have that. So moving on to Burton, I thought Burton was it was probably my most favorite game that I've seen Burton play. The tackle that he made to push that player over the sideline. One, the play itself excited me, but the thing that excited me most was when he got up and just the energy and the excitement that he showed in that, like the passion. I think that's the one thing missing from his game. He's an elite runner of the football. He's an elite kicker of the football. He has an improving passing game, and managing. It's improving, and I think can one day be elite. But I think the thing that's been missing is his passion. Like when you think of Bulldogs players, and definitely 5'8", they've got passion, and he hasn't really shown it. The other thing is his effort plays, and he made a lot of them. He had some dummy half runs, but the 2 times Carraz scored, he actually swung around to the right, and you've got to make the effort to get there. So
yeah,
that's a big credit to. I thought it was one of his best games I've seen him play. He made a great line break and a try assist, but they're things I kind of expect from him. But the other things, they were the things that impressed me the most. I gave him a 9, so I thought he was outstanding.
I talked about this. Yeah, I have to agree. I talked about this last week, that when Mark made his offhanded comment the previous week about Burton basically staying out of Sexton's way, and not making it all about the Matt Burton show. And I think what you got, that's the evolution of the game plan and the halfback and the trust amongst the side, that he is now able to sneak around both sides of the ruck and create that illusion a lot better. And it was funny because Corey Parker and both commentators were very happy how Canterbury scored those 2 tries down the right edge, where the variation that they used in that attack was really good. But I think if you've been watching the Bulldogs closely all year, that variation's been there. It's just been a matter of timing and being in the right place at the right time. And they've had, it's just evolved and evolved and evolved. And the fact that they held off with Toby Sexton's kicking game on that short kicking game and have evolved that as they've gone into the season. And then even last week, they pulled a little bit back on Toby's kicks. The week before, he probably pretty much kicked, I think, just as much as Burton. They had equal share, whereas this week it was more Burton. The very fact that they're going in, that's not just Matt Burton deciding he wants to kick or doesn't want to kick. That's game plans. That's management of the game and knowing what they're doing and going about it. For the most part, they still have times where that things don't go exactly how to plan and they have to do a rush a kick or whatever. But what did you think about Toby?
Yeah, I just wanted to get on this. The clutch, he says, well, what he says there, can you just put that up?
The 14th Immortal?
No, well, you can put that up, yeah, if you want.
He ain't no clutch, Mark. And what's the next thing he said?
It says he couldn't agree with me on Burton's passion energy gone up. Well, what I was trying to say was I think it has now. I think that was the one thing he was missing, and I think now he has it, and that's what excites me most about Burton and his game is his passion is right up there.
Yeah, that's how I saw it too, Dave. So the clutch, what he was saying, yeah, just to reiterate what Dave said, he said Burton's passion he's so laid back and so carefree and such a good, just down to earth lad that sometimes it may have looked, or the perception may have been that he didn't care as much. It didn't mean as much to him. And some of the effort plays weren't there last year under sufferance and under fatigue in a long season. But his passion has definitely evolved, and that's exactly what Dave was alluding to. It's got a lot better. So you're both agreeing.
Yeah.
There's no disagreement there. We'll go back a little bit and before we keep the second half of the ratings going and have a look at these. All right, Leo likes leagues. Come on, g'day, Leo likes league. Hope you're well, mate. AEW, whatever that means. Carraz is killing it in the meters. He's making close to 300 meters. He's a machine, 100%. Ross says it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. BFFB. Pete, g'day, Pete. He's dying with the dog's disease. Laugh at her. I love your work too, Big Roo. I used to like a horse when I was a kid growing up. It was called Big Grey Roo.
There you go.
There you go. Hey, what's up, Weber? He's got the flu. Just there, a little side convo. We'll last by a long way in missed tackles. Yep. And conceding less meters than the other side. So,
and still the best defensive team in the competition.
How many line breaks have we conceded? That's what matters. That's what matters. 60 points. So the 14th Immortal's been announced, and it's Ron Coote. I think thoroughly deserved. I'm glad it wasn't a current day legend.
Yeah.
If it's not going to be, from what everyone says, I can't talk because I never went to watch him play live, but from what everyone has said, he was a godlike figure to the game of rugby league and deserves immortal status. Ahead of people saying it should be Cooper Cronk.
Well, I actually think it should be. I think it should be James Graham.
No one's going to say that. Sam Burgess will get before James Graham, but I think James Graham's a better player.
Yeah, well, any bit Billy Slater's ear, he should get it for that.
There you go. There's the punchline. Yeah, I agree. The clutch deserved for Ron Coote. But just needs to work on his goal kicking. I can tell you, mate, he's working on his goal kicking every single day. More and more and more. There might need to be a discussion, though, at the end of the season or at some point.
I love the next comment. Sorry to move on, but that's brilliant. That's such a good comment.
We will move on to that. Something so small, having Birdo lead the team song is such a positive effect on him, is allowing him to grow into the player we know he can be. Yeah, well, you watch him when he gets that sort of interlude bit, and he's like, "Doggies, are you ready? Ready!" Like,
yeah, you must go through some shoes.
You must go through some vocal cords. Pete says he's worked with Ron Coote in the city as a young fella in a clothing factory. Bloody top bloke. Well, there you go. He'd get a run in Serrato's side, that's for sure, Pete. That's all I could say.
I mean, any player that's become rhyming slang, that's an immortal to me.
I'm doing well. Got myself a Ron Coote.
It's like Darren Pritz. He's next.
The poor bin. That's it. They smashed the bin at where was that at? At Cogger and the Dragon. They absolutely destroyed their bin. They'll have to buy a new one, you'd think. So there you go.
Right, so yeah, moving on to Sexton.
Go back to the ratings. Sexy.
Yeah, he was really solid. Without really having too many highlight sort of moments. He defended well. He kicked well. He managed it well. I wouldn't say managed the game well. He was pretty. He made some good decisions instinctively. I think their plan was to play up the middle, and he executed that pretty well.
What do you think about the intercept to Averillo off Sexy?
Yeah, look, I'm fine with it. If you're that the pass that he did to Zeri last week, that could have been intercepted.
Yep.
But the defense didn't read it. You throw those balls, it's going to happen. I'd rather him take the chance than just not.
It's funny because Hutch with that little bit less speed when he was there early in the season, he only threw the pass a couple of times. Got a couple of try assists out of it, but most of the time he was reluctant to throw it and ran back on the inside.
Yeah, but I think the defenders. Sorry, with Hutch though, I think the defenders, because of his speed, they tended to. Well, they gave him that space. You open up that space, and you slide across to your center and give them, and then because you know that you can back yourself to catch him, and he just sees that space and would take it all the time, and they just wrap him up.
We had the same problem with Kyle Flanagan.
Yeah, they would just condense their fence on the outside and make him run.
Yeah, it's funny. A player who knows a very prominent Penrith player, who's related to him, was telling me about Hutchison, and what you just said there is exactly what's in the notebook. So, but I'll tell you that play was more about Jake Averillo and his knowledge than Sexy throwing that pass as part of that move, because
that's a good point.
Jake Averillo, he scored a try like that off an intercept in a junior game one day that I saw in a grand final against Penrith, and I think Matty Burton might have even thrown the pass. That sort of whole structure has been a part of the Serrato handbook. And it's that play that they were using, it's being used every single game, multiple times by all sides, pretty much, that sort of block play. But Jakey Averillo just knew that ball was going to be thrown and scored the try. And he had a pretty good game as well, Jakey. He played real well. Didn't let himself down at all. But he's gone now, so fuck him. Minus the French. Yep. Josh Curran. What did you
actually?
What was he?
Just rating? Go through. Yeah, sorry. Sexty was 8, but there's a few comments on Sexton that I'd like to go through.
Yep.
If you want to just scroll down.
Oh, we're in the people talking about Sexton. He's been awoken. I don't want to be a downer, but Sexton is benefiting massively from our systems in place. He needs to be more consistent attack-wise, and there's a long way to go. We can't get ahead of ourselves.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, I think if it's very similar to the Penrith system where you had Cogger come in and look like one of the best halfbacks in the game. So I do agree that in another system, I don't think he'd be going anywhere near as good, which is a credit to everything that we put in place.
Yeah, look, I think there's elements to his game that he will be an asset to any team he plays in. The more games he gets, the more experience.
We saw that last year.
Yeah. And looking at as a complete player, his only lack was his defense. Obviously, game management is something you learn when you play 100 games. Play 200 games, you're a better game manager than you are after 100, which is a no-brainer. But his skill set to pass both sides of the ruck, his short kicking game especially, there's elements of shifty there. If he continues with the confidence and being in that system, I think he will evolve to being the leader that we need for the next couple of years at least anyway. And then there'll be decisions to make. But
after last week, I felt like he potentially was the most improved player this year. But then after Wishart's game on the weekend, I think Wishart is definitely the most improved player in the comp. So.
Yeah, well, he's a player that is one of those players that you look at as well. You know, if we're going to hire some more clones, but I think he's going to get. I think he's going to get a big salary and be forced out of the Storm, or they're going to have to drop some players to keep him because he's another one who just screams effort. And his father was all effort too. Everything he strained for every meter. He gave everything in good low defender when he had to. Chased hard. You know, he's got all the attributes of a good footballer, and that's what we're looking at in our system. Yep. Good blokes and good footballers, as opposed to I'm a left winger. Just unless they're exceptional, an exceptional finisher and really fast.
Yep.
Gus is going to pick them every day. Mark says, "What about the best winger in the club?"
Well,
yeah, the Fox was a little bit down. Well, Jacob Crow's had a great game.
Yeah, I would like to give a shout out to Blake Wilson, though. You know, just for everything he's given this season. You know, obviously, I think he's out for the season. Is that right?
Yeah, he's out. He's pretty much gone. Yeah.
So he's been a great next up man, and the fact that they've kept him over Skelton, you know, shows the club have a lot of faith in him, and yeah, I think he's been great this year. So yeah.
Shout out to Blake Wilson. All right, Peter says Sexy's coming along nicely. Only mistake was the Averillo intercept. In saying that, you have to take chances to win games. Birdo's intercept, the same story by opposition. 100%, brother. Needs to kick some goals. He's pinpoint. Maybe Burton's left side. Yeah, well, that's been the common denominator. Birdo's definitely statistically struggled on one side. He doesn't miss by much, though. I will say that. And Ciro has turned the doggies into the Spartans, into the 100. The wall of 300. The 300, I should say.
All right, well, speaking of Spartans, Josh Curran.
Let's go.
What a game. What a game. I gave him a 9. I thought he was outstanding. Played under duress with injury, just kept coming back. What a warrior. If Carraz has been our most consistent back, then Curran's definitely been our most consistent forward this year. And I can't say enough good things about him, mate. I love consistent.
Who's Max King? Josh Curran. Yeah, that's what I mean. Josh come in for Max.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And I mean, I can't say enough. I can't give him enough praise. I love him.
Yeah. Look, you're some people mark a lot more harsh, but I felt we played well last week, and I felt there were numerous contributors, and they're all worthy of the highest praise. And Josh Curran did a fantastic job. And he's going to have to needle up for the rest of the season, basically, which is going to bust him a bit. And that does worry me a little bit as well. He's going to be needing that preseason more than anyone. I'd give him a 9, and I think he's averaged an 8 every single week, or an 8.5. So,
yeah. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to do this ratings thing was just to sort of emphasize how consistent all our team is. You know, we don't have a couple of stars. We basically have 8 or 9s every week, and that's awesome.
It's brilliant.
Reid Marnie was pretty quiet, I think, after the ref sort of had to talk to him. He didn't really know sort of how to go about that. He did his job, but he was quiet. I gave him an 8.
I liked his kick. I liked when he turned him around on the 4th. It was the right timing. Yeah. He executed well. Didn't get the 40-20, but that doesn't matter. It set us up. They had to be prepared to go for a war. There was a period there where the Dolphins, where we were dominating through the set for set, and then they started to wrestle it back a bit and advance up the field and get the back and forth happening. But then we put them away. then they made one mistake and we put them away. Reed, his passing was still quality off the deck on the weekend. Really good. It's always quite blustery at Bundy. You got the Echo winds this time of year in Queensland. It's very windy, and they'd had all that rain previously. So, yeah, blustery conditions, but passed really well. And I think an 8 is fair. 7 or an 8 for me. I felt he was a little bit rattled for a tiny bit. He did a couple. I think someone knocked the ball out of his hands in one part. But yeah, I've just felt it was a nice workman performance.
Yep.
Sammy Hughes.
Yeah, I'll let you start. Let you go with this one. I mean, I've got a rating, but I'll let you hear your thoughts.
I couldn't wait for Sam to come back on it. Actually, in parts, I felt that I felt he's got better every single match. To be honest, people expect a lot. To be a season forward week in, week out in the NRL is no easy feat. And this guy had basically his back was screwed when he first come across to the Bulldogs and got injured in reserve grade in a mid-season transfer from the Eels. He actually has a lot in his game that we haven't really seen a lot of yet, and I think we will see it at some point. I don't know if it's going to be in the finals or if it's going to evolve over time, but he can throw a ball. He can throw an offload. He's got a step at the line, but he's just taken that role of getting that first hit up, engages the contact, does a bit of movement to try and fall in the right space to get away the quick play of the ball. Does it pretty effectively, and his minutes are getting longer and longer and longer in that first stint. So his fitness is getting up. I rate him as 7 or an 8 for that match. I don't think he was any worse.
Maybe 7.5.
Yeah, he's just doing his job.
Yep.
And then they brought him on late in the game for Curran, and his runs were great. With the heat out of the game, he showed he can do the stuff with the ball. I guess they're worried with the big men when the side's under fatigue that the big men are going to be the ones that get caught out late in the games. And our team has really avoided having the big men out there on the field when the whips are cracking towards the end of a match. So the fact that he come on and we lost nothing was really positive. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much agree on that. I gave him a 7.5. I can't really add much to that. I'll move on to Kickow. Kickow, I thought was outstanding. I gave him an 8.5. His line break was great. To set up the try, yeah, he was great. He does all the things that he normally does. Great kick pressure, lots of decoys. Just he was great. He was a big threat on that left hand side. I loved his matchup with TPGA. He had it's like they had a magnet on him. He was just drawn to him every time he got the ball. I felt like the try that we conceded on our line, he came in on him and it left him in the middle of the field after the tackle.
Yeah.
Connor Tracy tried to fill the gap as he normally does at the back, and he stayed in the gap too long and wasn't able to sort of cover the try that was scored in the wing. But it
was well executed that try too.
It was. But I mean, again, you can't blame Kickout because I think his job was to be the enforcer, and he did it. He won the battle. So 8.5 for me.
Yeah, that moment where he makes that bust. Tavita he watched Tavita have to make 2 efforts in a row, and Tavita was the slowest one getting back. But Tavita was trying to get back in the line, just got there, and then was slightly slower than everyone else.
Yep.
And Viliami Kickout had hadn't overworked himself with the ball all game. Went for that. He'd run his decoys and done a few hit ups when needed and all that sort of stuff. But that moment there was exactly the sign of a good footballer and someone who's going to be, we're going to need firing on all cylinders if we're going to win the comp.
Big time.
Which is what we can talk about now. We've made the finals, and that's fucking great. It's not about how many tackles they make or how many fucking runs they have. It's what they do when they're called upon to do it, when the team needs them to do it, and that's what separates the $200,000 toiler, who's just as important, from the $800,000 player that you get in your side.
Yeah.
But anyway,
moving on to Preston. Great game as always. He doesn't put a foot wrong. I think his highlight play was the try-saving tackle on the hammer.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, I don't think he really stood out too much. But another solid game. I gave him an 8.
Yeah, good wrap up for Preston, and I'm actually liking that. You know, he's just out there doing his job. He's a threat every time he runs the ball. They struggle to contain him, and just his presence now is creating headaches for the opposition, as it is on the other side of the field. And we've just got such good balance left and right in attack. When they, once this side clicks and understands itself properly, there's still times under pressure where they sort of go, oh, what's going to happen now? But that's becoming less and less and less and less. So great effort by Preston. I love that he's not the best player in the side this year. He shouldn't be. He shouldn't be the best player in our team.
No way.
The fact that he's a contributor and someone you're going to pick every week, and going to play 7 or 8 every single game he plays, is exactly what you bloody need, and that means we're doing well. Kurt Man.
I'll let you do Kurt Man. I gave him an 8. I know you love him, so I'll let you talk him up.
I've got him up here on the screen here. Look at that. Kurt Man. Killer Kurt Man. I've been trying to, I said it last week, I've been trying to do a bloody a little thing on Kurt Man with all these highlights and stuff, but the NRL won't let me do it. Yeah. Weighs 88 kilos, 184 centimetres. Born in Winton, Queensland. His nickname's Killer. He's 31. What a champion. 194. So he'll play 200 games next year. Anyway, we're supposed to talk about his rating from the game. I've got a bit off kilter as usual.
That's all right.
Kurt Man, sorry about that. I give him a 7.5 for an 8. His passing at the line was good. He had a couple of runs through the middle, which asked questions when he had to. He hit hard in defence. He just did his job. And just like the others, he played that role well. His 2 passes, tackles all day, second man in. They targeted him a bit, actually, running at him. And one point I was going to make is that I think Kikau at a point in the game there was drawn in to go after a couple of plays. He does it sometimes. But seeing Felice Kafusi smash our guys in the back, I think that pissed Kikau off at a couple of points, and he made it known that he was going to smash someone. But yeah, I'll give Kurt a 7.5, 8. It was a good, consistent performance. It was much more of a standout against the Dragons.
Yes.
But that's, again, it's the context of the game and where the strategy is. It's not the same every week.
No, that's right.
What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I said I gave him an 8. I think he summed it up pretty well. Moving on to Hayward, I thought he was solid. Another 8 game. He did everything. He's basically, you don't notice the Kurt Man's off too much when he's on. I think that's a credit to him.
That's the system, as we talk about again, the role.
Yeah.
And I thought, and Bailey had a couple of good runs as well where he nearly broke through. So you're seeing a mirror image from when one leaves the field and the next man comes on. And that's their role. They're basically instructed that their place in that side is to is to not go on there and be nearly as good as the starter, to actually be better. It's like the Spencer Lenu mentality sort of thing.
Yeah.
James and like Leota come off, then Spencer comes on, and it's like they go to a higher level. Back with the Panthers.
Yeah, well,
Bailey comes on, and he's trying to do the same thing, and he's got a pretty good mentor.
I can look back at 2 years, and specifically 2012 and 2004 as the years where we had benches that actually improved our team when they came on. We had Sonny Bill, Asatazi to come on, Rennie Matoa, and then we had in 2012 we had James Graham coming on, and Clemmer at times.
Yeah, Cassiano.
Yeah,
Graham only started on the bench at the start of the season. It wasn't long before he was the starter and the enforcer of it. To have big bump Sam Cassiano and David Clement are coming off the bench. But Bailey Hayward, he did a good job, man. And I'll give him I'll give everyone on that bench gets a 7 for me. If you want to, my honest opinion.
Oh no, I thought Moran had an 8.5. I thought Moran was outstanding.
Yeah.
Had some huge runs, some really big runs at times that we needed it. He was great.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, his runs off the kick returns too, making for a guy that size to make 20 meters, to make it past the 20-meter line, through the contact and get post contact. There's big boys. They must be coming off just filthy.
Yeah, it's a good point.
It's like they watched him do it the week before, and they're like, "Well, I'm not going to let him do that to us."
Yeah,
it's more than leg speed and craftiness. It's power.
Yep.
It's determination. It's will.
So Harry Hayes, I gave an 8. I thought he was solid. Jamin Salmon didn't really. He only got 20 minutes, so I only gave him a 6.
I'll give him a 7 because he actually come on and did. He played a bit in the middle, and
he tackled hard. He tackled
hard, and he also had some really slick passes in the movement. So
I suppose
Bailey was running in and out of hooker, helping Marnie have a break, and he did some great job. But a 6, fair enough. Most people doing ratings like this are going to give these bench players a 5 or 6. They're not. Most of the ratings you see, they haven't really even watched the fucking game half the time. I'll just look at the stats. Oh, he played 20 minutes. Oh, yeah, he made 7 tackles. Oh, okay, he's a 4. It's like, anyway. All right, good analysis, mate. I love that. We've given a good shout out to the entire team. It's not just about the Hollywood moments of 1 or 2 or 3 players.
Excellent.
Jamie says, and just to reiterate what we just said, Dogs don't rely on one player. We're a team. Unlike some teams like the Broncos are relying on 3 or 4 players. It's funny. Good point you make there, Jamie, because of watching all the games, it's like when we played the Newcastle Knights, and Kalen Ponga was in their side, but he was injured, and then he had to go off halfway through and stuff. They just looked horrible, and they were relying on him. They decided over the next few weeks they were going to try and grind their way to victories and all do their job, and they won about three or 4 matches or something. Then they played us again, we had no one. We had Burton and Crichton missing, and we smashed them at home 30-2, which destroyed their season. But that's because they thought they were going to go in and grind with us and be able to win, and we're out grinding every side.
Yeah, well, it comes back to that resilience that we showed early in the year of, in those moments that we needed it the most, and it's spread out through the whole team now. So anytime someone's out, someone just comes in and they probably do a better job.
That's it. Pete says we've got the left edge from hell. Mark says the left edge has fallen behind the right edge. There's no behind or forward, mate. I suppose there is for you, but not for me.
Well, statistically, I mean, if he loves his stats, and statistically, yeah, we've scored more tries on the right than we have on the left. But I think it's so even that teams don't know where we're going.
Exactly. The variations there, and they got, and what's left to right now when you got Toby and Matt playing both sides.
Yeah.
You know,
You're
and
worried about
Connor,
the edges. We'll go through the middle with man.
Well, we played a lot through the middle against the Dolphins, which I really loved. And then they fell apart. And when they were so drained from doing that in that heat, they fell apart in their edges at different points. And I just felt we went. What was most impressive, I felt, was the way we just executed when we had to.
Yeah.
They just went bang.
I feel like the Dolphins hadn't looked like a team that hadn't played someone as fit as we were all year. Like they did not know what to expect. Like they were spent in that last 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, we saw what they did in Darwin to the Eels, which would suggest they had better fitness than the Eels. But
yeah, I mean, their second halves have been a worry, but yeah, our second halves are brilliant.
Oh, mate, it's just a great time to be a Bulldogs fan. It really is. Mark says Kurtman is a weed that hits like a Mack truck, and he loves him. I love him too, Mark. All right, so let's get on to this big game against the Warriors. Where's it going to be won?
Well, I'm a little worried. I know you had this game down as a loss earlier in the year, and I'm a little worried about this game just because of the way that we match up. They're very similar. They use their outside backs early in the sets to give their forwards, a rest and to run on play 3 and 4. We have very similar styles. I'm not worried. I think we'll get the win. Sean Johnson's last home game doesn't worry me. We beat Brad Fittler in his last ever game. So I don't care who we play. Their mentality is anywhere, anytime, any place, wherever, whoever. So mate, we'll smash them. Bring it on.
It's a scary prospect. This is a side which should not be where it is on the ladder. Look, I just keep falling. When I look at their forward pack and go, I think Kurt Capewell's their weak link. That's saying something.
It's a pretty strong weak link, yeah.
Yeah, but you just have to trust these boys. Look, when we won in 2004, Michael, he's doing his HSC, hasn't come on tonight.
Oh, Michael, yeah.
I think he got scared of Mark wanting to adopt him and stuff. I saw him on the panel last night for one or two comments, but he said we lost to the Warriors in that run home, 26-8. But their side doesn't matter whether they're coming first or last, and however we're going. I know history doesn't count for much, but it does this year with the 20-year thing. But yeah, I thought Mitch Barnett was great in Origin. I thought Wade Egan was a player playing well enough as an individual to be in the conversation for Origin. Adam Fanel-Blake, how good he is. Murata Nikore is a solid player. These aren't reserve graders. These aren't no names. This is a star-studded side that's got home games for the rest of the season. Needs to finish the season off well. They've got everything to play for, but without the pressure, knowing that they're not going to make the finals. So this is a danger game for us.
Yeah,
like the game has been.
It has the potential for them to make it their grand final. I think Parramatta did that against Penrith the other week. I think they looked at this game and thought, well, this is our grand final. Yeah, they could, but I don't fear. They don't seem like a resilient team this year, and I think that's our strength. So I think when it comes down to the big plays and the big moments, I think we'll execute better. And the biggest hurdle I think we have moving forward is execution. I think that's the only piece of the puzzle left. If we can execute at a higher rate, I think Melbourne and Penrith do. They take their chances more than we have, and we create a lot of chances.
We do.
I know that defense is going to keep us in the game, and I think if we can execute higher, I think we can win the comp.
Well, there it is. We can win the comp, and perfectly said, because that is the issue. We break lines and work. The plan's there to break every side down, and they've actually got the talent in that back line that if they give that back line a chance and a sniff, that they can break lines and create opportunities and put ourselves in the position to win. But the execution, we have bombed as many tries as we've scored, and that is something that could catch us out. And the way we play, being such a fit side and playing such a fast game where we want to keep the ball in play, that's obvious that the Dogs want to do that. It's been a Penrith strategy for a long time. If that does take away from your ability to execute, especially late in games, and I've seen some games where we've been very pedestrian at times because of the fatigue that we've put and the effort we've put into that game and come up short with our execution. So,
well, I mean, the thing that doesn't worry about me about this game is, people talk about the Sean Johnson being his last home game, they're all going to play for him. But if they couldn't do it for themselves when they had and their season was on the line, what makes you think they're going to do it now for another person? So,
good point. Good point. Yeah, very good point. Good point. I think, it's one of those things you worry as a dangerous game, because if they do loosen up and get some points and get ahead of us with the confidence and play free flowing, we could struggle. But their will and determination to go to make that extra tackle or run that extra yard in defence may not be there because they're spent, their season's spent. So
yeah,
it's just going to come down to it.
It's exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think we all agree. I think these last few games are going to have to play every minute of the 80 to beat us, and then they'll have to push. It's just great to hear this from Dog fans. You know what I mean? The fact we're saying this stuff, the fact that we've got the confidence to say we trust our side are going to put in the effort, are going to make it so hard for that team to beat us that if they don't play their absolute best for 80 minutes, we're going to win. I fucking love it. Good comment, Jamie. Love it, man. Pete, another say they have nothing to play for except honour and the hype of huge Johnson send-off. We're playing for a top 4 spot this game. Our defence should get us across the line. We'll be a cracker, and it's a sellout.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Pete.
Well said.
All right. I was going to talk about the Immortal. I think Ron Coote's a good, I'm not going to rain on that parade. If they're going to name another one, that would be awesome. But I believe Stephen Folkes should have been put into the Hall of Fame. In my opinion, and there's a few other people that share this opinion, he has been the greatest clubman for Canterbury from the Bulldogs era. The fact that to win as premierships as a coach, to win premierships as a player, to play above his weight, the fitness that he had, the size he was, in the way that he defended, his reliability, his standing within the club. And I just think, representing New South Wales, never let anyone down. Australia, he could play in the backs if you wanted him to. He could play hooker. He could play second row. He'd play in the middle if needed. He played lock. And it wasn't just as that. It was then when he was running water for the side and becoming the fitness person and the conditioner, and he did it all. And just what a great clubman for the club. And I think, but on the stage, comparing him with anyone to go in that Hall of Fame, I think he's got the runs on the board, and he should have been in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion, sooner rather than later. And as far as an Immortal goes, Terry Lamb and Steve Mortimer, we know their record, and they're iconic. They're gods of the game. Terry Lamb to do it across, basically across 3 decades. Coming in as a player and in the 70s as a young junior, and then Dalian Player of the Year at Wests, to come back home to his home club at Canterbury. He missed one of those grand finals, but playing in the 80s in 2 grand finals, in the 90s, had to retire, couldn't even, played every game of a Kangaroo tour. It's still the best club, one of just out
also
there.
Came out of retirement in '96 to help us because all the players went to Super League.
Yeah, 100%. And we did better than really we could have expected in that year. It was a very tough season that year, and he couldn't train.
They went to Parramatta, yeah.
He couldn't even train with his knee. It was that shot. So, all right. And Steve Mortimer, I could talk about Steve all day. I'm not going to. If Dogs are contenders, I expect them to keep Warriors to 0, and worst case scenario, leak only 6 points to put 40 on them, which should if they are contenders. Oh, interesting. Remember last game, and welcome to the channel, Abraha Les. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the surname. Remember last game was they got lucky off 1 try, which means they only scored 1 legit try. Dallin scored off the scrum, which was lucky. Yeah, I love fans who are invested in how we played throughout the season and have a good memory about stuff. Look, the Dolphins played up tempo. They looked threatening at different times against us, but really only got 1 try and 1 off an intercept. We've been keeping teams to 10 points the last few weeks. The Warriors are probably going to have to score 16 points to beat us, and that's going to be their challenge more so than ours. I think the longer the game's close, the harder it's going to be for them too. If they're going to beat us, then they're going to need to come out of the blocks.
Yeah.
For Samuel Hughes, knock on. Well, there you go. You got a good memory, brother. Look, the fact that a lot of our players haven't made more knock-ons, being rookies and first-year players, I could have expected a lot worse from our team this year.
Yeah.
They've done a bloody outstanding job. Outstanding job.
I still have nightmares of Ockenbaugh and Corey Riddell.
Well, I just was looking at that. I was talking about that the other day. Jaden's now playing for the Bradford Bulls, who beat Canterbury in a World Club Challenge after we won in 2004. They actually beat us. We had to go over there.
Bradford Bulls aren't even in the Super League. He's not even playing Super.
Yeah.
He got dropped from Hull, which was one of the worst teams in Super League. Him and Pele.
Well, Hull have tried to buy themselves a premiership. And Pele's gone to Bradford as well. Yeah. But they're having a good time over there. They're doing well in that comp. I feel sorry for Jaden. I felt Jaden was a good clubman. He could have been anything. And, it just got to a point where no one felt that you just couldn't feel safe with him in the side.
Yeah.
But I love what the club did for Jaden in that last year, and I love that they gave him that opportunity to play in the forwards. He started off grabbing too much, started to put his shoulder in a bit, contributed more and more, was more
scored a
suited.
match-winning try against the Cowboys. That was about it.
Yeah, I love that. That was fantastic. I don't hate players. Players get stigmatized. But when Jaden dropped the ball, the whole club just knew that we were about to concede points. Every fan, every supporter, and I just felt so for it. And the very fact that he's one of the players that my daughter loved.
Oh, okay.
And because she watched him when he first come on and when he made the break against Cameron Smith in his second game, just smashed past Cameron Smith, and we looked good in that game and still lost it. Still gives me nightmares. Franklin Pele, different story. I think a player which a lot of fans are critical of that didn't get enough time and wasn't kept in the club because he was a potential cult figure.
Yeah.
So there you go. But yeah, I think, and he's another one who went and he did a lot of visits to people, homeless people and stuff like that. He's a really good guy, really nice person.
It's something we take for granted, isn't it? You know, we just watch what happens on the field and on the weekend.
Well, I heard the other day. Actually, I mentioned this on the podcast, on the interview I did the other day, so I won't mention it because I'll talk about it now. I won't repeat it. Previously, our attack was worse than the Warriors. Now it's better than theirs, and we were closer to bottom 4 attack. Now we almost a top 8 attack. Yeah, can't disagree, man. Can't disagree at all with that. We have our attacks continue to evolve, and we talked about that earlier, mate. It's been a work in progress, and they've slowly been implementing things, the variations there, and now they've got so many tricks in their kit bag that it's just going to depend on when we do it and how against the opposition. But nothing gets achieved if those forwards don't get those play the balls down, if they don't have that wrestle in the ruck and stop the opposition from making the meters, which is what we've been doing. But the Warriors and the Sharks still made plenty of meters against us in those 1-point victories. And that's something we have to improve on against those opposition.
I think it's Matthew Burton's 100th game, NRL game this week.
Good shout. Yeah, 100%.
And last week was Fox's 50th for the Bulldogs. So some good milestones.
100%, man. So we won with Viliami's 150th game. We won with the Fox's 50th. Let's go for the trifecta and win with Matty Burton's 100th.
Yeah.
Yep. Good shout, man. Biggest packs in the comp. And honestly, I don't know how the Sharks, I'll say it again, I don't know how the Sharks can facilitate having Adam Fanua-Blake coming to that side and then basically not losing a middle and keeping a couple of young middles which are on the way up. I don't know how they're affording that with the simple loss of Dale Finucane. Don't get it.
Yeah, I've wondered about that myself. They've got like a whole reserve grade of NRL starting like caliber forwards.
Yeah. Well, I was literally thinking one of those guys would be coming to the Bulldogs, whether it's Royce Hunt, whether it was what's his bloody name?
Hazelton.
Hazelton's got a player option.
Yeah.
I don't know if his is a player option or club option. I think with him it's a club option, and with Kafusi he's got a player option to stay next year. And he's an Oregon Kafusi's a good player too. I think will get better and better. He runs hard, and God, he's got a good offload in him too.
Yeah,
can play good minutes. I just don't know how they fit them all in. And Roosters as well, another huge pack. And how do you fit them all in? Well, so Tilly Tupanua's coming to us, so one player's on their way.
yeah.
So there you go.
So I noticed Eli Clark was on the extended bench this week. It's good to see him recognised and sort of back up the chart of next man up with Wilson being out.
Yeah, well, he deserves it. Good defender. Although the loss on the weekend apparently was very disappointing. You know, Roosters can. They're not there to win comps in reserve grade. They're there to develop NRL players. They've got a bunch of kids in their side too, which are really talented that we haven't even heard of. But we should have won that game. We had it under control and just let it go. Some really bad defensive errors, grabbing and stuff, which I wasn't happy with what I saw from the tries that were scored.
Yeah, we lost in Flegg as well.
Yeah,
so it wasn't a great weekend.
Well, that Roosters side was basically full of the SG Ball and Harold Matts players that our Dogs teams played against the previous year.
Yeah.
So they haven't been performing that well this year, the Roosters in Jersey Flegg, because a lot of them have had to go up the grade and up the level. But in saying that, you know, it's nice for us to be able to win these younger comps and to be there. Talent's taken them a long way, but they do, like every side, Gus and the like are trying to find out who the next NRL players are. And that does affect cohesion and stability in those sides a lot. And we're not the only club doing it. Pete says Sharks are woeful last week. If you haven't watched the game, worst game I think I've watched this year.
No, I didn't watch it.
Newcastle have been really disappointing this year, Pete. They've been they remind me a little bit of the Bulldogs in, I don't know, under Dean Pay. You know, handy and pretty tough, can grind out a win, have some good players in their side. No, we didn't have a Kalen Ponga in our team, in saying that. But, yeah, they're just not too exciting at all. But if they win that game, the Knights, they still could have made the 8. They could have been it on 32 points.
Would have helped us too.
Yeah, 100%. I think they were ripped off. I really do. I think they should have had a penalty in front of the sticks.
Oh yeah, Kennedy was offside.
Way offside. And people are trying to say Sutton was trying to stop us from making the top 4. So I think that's drawn a very long bow. Yeah, I'd agree. Their attack is woeful, mate. Like they couldn't score points on us. Their resilience isn't very good either. 100%. Knight should have belted them. Well, that's funny with the Sharks because at times they look like the best team in the comp, and then they just, I don't know.
They're a hard team to pick.
Their attack's not good enough. Abraha says, Pete. Their attack's terrible, and that's why they couldn't beat those woeful Sharks last week, which probably sums it up really good. So talking about our system again. Our system in the NRL.
Yeah.
I hope this system is going to stay in place. Look, no matter how well we do this year, I don't have huge expectations as far as, you know, if we finish second this year or third this year or even win the comp, that it's going to be a dynasty for the Bulldogs moving forward. I think there's still a lot of work to do. I think the future side, we still haven't seen a lot of players that's in it over the next 3 or 4 years. I think there's a lot more to evolve. But I think the system is and the effort that the players put in week to week, that's what is going to be consistent. That's my thoughts now. That's what I'm trusting in.
Yeah, it was something that I wouldn't have thought of before seeing Penrith do it. Like, what Penrith's been able to achieve, I couldn't comprehend before I'd actually witnessed it. And seeing the Bulldogs on a similar path, I wouldn't have been able to envision that. But now you can see it, like, just opening up before our eyes. It's great to see.
Yeah, it's what's that, bro? It's amazing. Dogs could have been minor premiers this year. They lost 4 close games this year too. 2 to the Cowboys, Raiders off conversions, and Melbourne and Rabbitohs.
As much as I agree with that, we also won 2 games where I thought we weren't necessarily the better team. So I feel like it evens it out for the most part.
Yeah. And that's a really good thing to take into consideration. So, yeah, I reckon we should be 4 points. Out of that, I think we should have 4 more points. So we should be top 4.
I agree.
We should be top 3 without a drama.
Hindsight, look, the first 2 games, if we'd played those games and later in the season we win, and it showed because we did. We played Para and Cronulla later on, and we beat them both. So, you know, I take the first 2 games out. The South game was a bit tough, but I think it was a stepping stone because we had some adversity in that game. We didn't handle it the best, and ever since then we have. And I think I take more stock in the middle to back end of our season than I do in the start.
Yeah, well, I definitely take stock at the back end when we're in contention and we keep winning.
Yes, that's right. And like you've said, we've had semi-final type matches each week. You know, we've travelled to we took our home game to Queensland and we still won. We beat Brisbane in a sold out, stadium up there. Like we've went to Cogra and we smacked them. Like it doesn't matter where we go and what the challenge is, they'll embrace it. And it gives me so much confidence.
Yeah. 100%. I think Munster said they were lucky to beat the Dogs. They were lucky to beat the Dogs. We had one player, a fresh player, come in and fail on his assignment when it counted. It's not to say that they wouldn't have scored off the next play. Like, you don't know. You don't know. There's another comment here, which Hutchison did not pass the Souths game. There was a try. Well, you look at it, there was still a lot of work to have been done. And at that point of the season, I'm not sure they would have scored the try. But I think they would have went close if he throws the ball. But he didn't throw the ball. There's been plenty of games this year where balls haven't been thrown that should have been, or when balls were thrown when they shouldn't have been, or people are in the wrong area. Like, there's moments in games that you can pinpoint to a loss. I think holistically for that Souths game, the fact that Josh Addo-Carr got concussed would not have happened if the Souths player, what's his bloody name? He used to play for the Bulldogs.
Oh.
No, the centre, Tass.
Richie Cannon. Tass.
If Isaiah Tass was sent to the sin bin for a professional foul when we had a try-scoring opportunity in slowing down the ruck, right. They're down to 12 men and we potentially score in that last play and they don't have someone there, then they're down to 10 men for the start of the second half. That had more of an effect on us, that we then had to play players out of position. Not so much one time when Hutchison didn't pass the ball. But anyway, you can say he butchered a try, 100%. But was that the moment that lost us the game? I don't believe so. Jamie says we'll stay in the 8 for years to come. I hope so, Jamie. I hope so. But things can go wrong. You can have injuries and next man up can be injured as well. And there can be things that go against us. And they're not excuses. They're just things that happen. If the players go out there with the intensity and effort and are playing for the coach, I expect they'll, represent us well. That's all I want. That's all I need. And generally that will have you falling in close into the 8 or close to it. You're like me, Michael, taking one game at a time and enjoying the improvement as we go without expecting too much. If we do better than 4th, 100%, bro.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, my expectations have been exceeded. So whatever happens from now on, like, this is still going to be one of the best seasons of my life.
Yeah, good point, bro. The side was definitely evolving and being experimented with. Look, I take it on good authority that Drew Hutchison, like I said this to people at the start of the year. I said it numerous times. Drew's just there, and Toby will be coming in round 10, round 11, something like that. And Toby didn't look like the improvement didn't really come until about round 4, round 5. He wasn't kicking stones. He was just working on things, and it wasn't coming together as a package. Drew was there just to help tackle those big bodies.
Well, the first 8 weeks of a season, it's all about completions. It's all about completions and, in defense. And that's what Hutchison gives you. He gives you experience. He'll give you higher completions because he's not going to take as many chances as we talked about before. And his defense, although it's not the greatest, he's a big body and he's not a target as much as Sexton would have been in those early rounds. So, at the time, I couldn't really understand what you're sort of getting at, like with saying that, don't worry, he'll get his time. because it didn't really feel like it. You know, it felt like Ciro was playing favourites again, like he did with Perham last year. But it's turned out to be perfect. Like he had a plan, and it's just you can't argue, you can't fault it at all.
Yeah. Well, that was the perception, but I guess what we learn in hindsight is that he's got players playing in the side in certain positions based on what they're doing at training and what they're showing as far as leadership within the team. And it's not just them, it's the players around them and who they trust.
Yeah.
And I sort of learned through some comments through some of the players this year, especially to reiterate that, like when Liam Knight spoke, he didn't speak about kicking stones. He basically said, he hasn't proven himself enough to be trusted by the rest of the side to be in it. You know, he's made in his own game, he's made too many mistakes. He's missed assignments in New South Wales Cup. He's like, I have to do better for them to make it impossible not to pick me. Yep. And that's just any club's going to want that in their club, whether he's playing reserve grade or first grade. That's maturity. That's leadership. That's being a clubman. And I think Hayes Perham represents that within the squad. Yes. I think Hutchison represents that within. I listen to Hutchison speak, and I watch his gameplay. He knows what to do and where to go. It's just sometimes I don't think he has the physical attributes to get it done.
No, that's right.
But I think he'd be a good coach because, as they say, coaches, teachers teach because they can't do.
Yeah. You can't coach, teach. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't play. Those who can't teach. Yeah.
I don't know.
Good point here made by Abraham. Thanks for your contribution, man. Been really good. Enjoyed it. I think that was a part of the plan to establish defence first and rolling the attack in the last rounds of the season. Yeah, man. And if you watch Penrith, they're clunky as hell at the start of their seasons. And by the end of it, they're rolling teams by 40 and 50. But this year's a little bit different. They're a little bit fresher, a little bit rawer, a little bit younger in their squad, and had the wrong injuries at the wrong time, which makes them vulnerable. But that's definitely our plan, is when you've got the team which has played the least amount of games together and is bucking a trend, which is, if you're a betting person, you back the team that's had the players in their side playing together the most. The Bulldogs are wiping egg all over that and saying, no, wait, we're right now. But they built that cohesion through their defence. They built that confidence through their defence and their trust. Now they've earned the right to go out there and throw the ball around and make things happen.
I'm loving, Serrato's ability to individually game plan for each match. We saw against the Broncos a style that we haven't seen since. We saw a different style against the Dragons, and then we played through the middle more so against the Dolphins, and that shows a lot of maturity in the way that he's able to adapt to any situation, and you can see it how he's able to adapt each players to whatever best fits the team on that day, and it's great. And that comes back to that next up mentality and team first or club first mentality.
Yeah, and I don't think they're carrying their divots at all. The knock-on-ball effect, the Wakeham effect is gone. There's, I was worried with Hutchison because he became the focal point for blame, and that actually affects the team. It affects the club. It affects the fan base when they focus on that. The team's actually disposed of that. And I think to a point now that it doesn't matter who they bring in. I don't think if that person isn't quite up to it or makes a mistake, I don't think the team's going to carry the divots. And that will sort of encourage us to be more sort of positive about it as well. I think we've got to be better as fans as well. We're all part of this exclusive club that we get to celebrate. And you can have your opinion, but we don't need to cross the line. That's a bit of a preach that I make occasionally. Jamie would have been happy with 10th. And they've shot that out of the water. I was expecting 80% of what we've achieved, sort of thing. They've put in 100. What's your thoughts on that, Dave?
Sorry. Yeah, oh mate, 100%, 100%.
Yeah, you've got I suppose you try and make it tangible and go, if we have 10 wins and we're close in the other games, I'd be happy with that. But I just know me. If we have 10 wins, I'm still going to be like, I wish we had 12,
Yeah, look, to me, it doesn't come down. To me, it doesn't come down to the number of wins. It just comes down to the effort and the process. And yeah, it's 10 out of 10 for both of them for me.
Yeah, they've ticked every box, really.
Yeah, I couldn't be prouder, man.
Yeah, I think we should be 4 points ahead of where we are. We should have qualified for the finals 2 or 3 weeks ago. But maybe it's a blessing that it's all still in front of us, because they're hungry, man. They're hungry as.
We just need one big win in the Sharks to have a bit an off game and lose by 20, and we'll catch up that for and against. We'll be right.
Let's hope. Pete says he thinks Hutchins' Sexton scenario, he was kept in cup to develop all the skills he needed, and now it's on show. Yeah, definitely, mate. As I said, I think it was more in the defensive aspects, and I think his attacking aspects have been gradually brought through. And and I think we're going to see some more things as coaches need to do. They're going to have to go out there and execute what they do really well, and then with the element of surprise, bring out some other things. Bring out the Robert Ralph offload in the line, Rod Silver,
the Mitch Newton,
the Mitch Newton. It's coming. It's coming. I think Viliami's gone for a few of those moments in the line the last few weeks, and they've failed miserably. But it's going to be someone like a Jamin Salmon or a Sam Hughes. I'm telling you, someone's going to pop a ball that you don't expect. And it's not just our team, too. There's going to be other teams that do it as well. You've heard it here first. Not that matters. I want revenge against the Cowboys. So do I. We were ripped off in that game.
Hey, well, no team that has beaten us. No, we've not lost to any team twice. So every team that's beaten us, we've beaten them the next time if we played them twice.
So we're beating Penrith in the next game?
Yeah, and Melbourne.
And every team we've beaten the first time hasn't beaten us the second time.
Yeah, that's just, same stat.
So we beat them the first time, but they haven't beaten us the second. And so who we beat? We beat the Dragons twice. We beat the Knights twice. We lost to the Raiders first, and we beat them.
Yeah, Parramatta, Cronulla. We both beat the second time.
So we're due to beat the Storm. We're due to beat
the Roosters. We beat the first time, then lost the second time.
And going along, so that means we should beat the Warriors, and because we just like the Knights and the Dragons, we're going to beat them again.
So Manly's the danger game out of all of it.
Based on that, yeah. We're going to beat them too.
But if I'm going for quirky stats, I'd rather refer to Mike Cool.
Well, you miss him. I'm surprised he didn't come on. He's getting too popular. We've been starved for years, and now they've been let out in a butcher. There we go.
Yeah.
Dragons beat Manly. We should be able to beat Manly. Agree. Pete says Manly and Tigers tomorrow at Leichhardt. Imagine. Go the Tigers. I want to see the Tigers win that. Definitely. Some people hate the Tigers, but it's a good win on the weekend. Who'd they beat on the weekend? South. So that was good. Ugh.
I feel sorry for the Tigers more than I hate them.
It's funny.
We've been there.
I've got a couple of mates who are, very with the Bulldogs down. They never used to like the Dogs when they were successful, but when they were down in the dumps, they sort of felt sorry for them. Been talking complimentary about them and sort of growing to like them. But now they're successful again, they fucking hate them.
Yeah.
And think that we're getting, that the NRL is trying to make us win and all this fucking bullshit.
Oh, I hope so. It'd be a change.
You used to like them until they stole Skelton. I think he was always going to the Tigers, mate. There was mention of it earlier in the year. But I don't share rumours on here. I'm happy to talk about things after the fact. But yeah, he, they're paying good coin for him, more than we're going to pay. So we'll see how he turns out. I think he's going to be a good player for them, and I think they're going to have a very gun back line next year, the West Tigers, in my opinion. See how the young forwards stand up to it. Have you got anything else for tonight, Dave?
Not really. I just wanted to say that, like, if you're watching, if you've still here at the end, smash that like button, because I love this podcast. I love any Bulldogs content. I was talking to Mick earlier, and we were just talking about how we just waited for the big league to come out. We'd be getting the papers, and we're just looking for any bit of Bulldogs content that's out there. And I think we're so lucky now to have so many people put in the effort to bring us this great content. And I'm just so grateful that we have it. And if you enjoy it, subscribe. If not, whatever. But mate, just so appreciative of it all. And even the Kennel podcast, I like that. I like it all. So thanks for having me on, and go the Bulldogs.
Brilliant, man. Much appreciated, mate. I just love having a chat with everyone, which is why that's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I feel a strong connection with anyone that's a Bulldogs fan. I love going to back to Belmore, Bankstown. I love that area. I just feel like everyone's on the same page as me, and mate, it's great.
So, guys, you'll see up on the screen there, I've got 5 fullbacks named. So we're going to do our All Things Bulldogs best 17 from 1979 until the current time. Any fullback for Canterbury or player that you thought it would have been a good fullback. No, these are my 5. Right, so we're going to vote on these 5. You tell me who is your fullback that you would choose in an all-time best Canterbury 17 from 79 through to 2024. You've got Mick Potter, Greg Bretnell, Luke Patton, Rod Silver, and Ben Barber. And if you don't know about some of the players on there, go research them, go look them up, and listen to what people say about these people, these players. Greg Bretnell put the bomb up for Steve Gearin in what was called the try of the century, where we scored in the 1980 grand final to win that, which was an amazing, after losing against 79 and coming up short in a big comeback against the Dragons, to come out and win it the next year. It was phenomenal. Then you got the likes of Mick Potter, dual Daily M winner, 2 different clubs.
Yep.
Current
premiership winner. A coach, legend.
Loved by every female Bulldog supporter. He's just such a work, and he just went to work. He was just fair player as well. Just did his heart. Just what a great player. The general Luke Patton, every year was the second best New South Wales fullback in the comp. Never got picked for New South Wales, which was good for us. Rocket Rod Silver, what he did when he come to the club mid-season. And Benny Barber, that was a fantastic year. And that just stood out for me. And I don't care about anything after that. That's my top 5. We'll we will do this. I will post this around. It'll be on All Things Bulldogs Facebook as well. But you let us know in the comments after this podcast. If you go and put a comment on who you think was the top 5, do it. And we'll announce each position as we move on. Something to do. But before we go, Abraham says this Bulldogs team is better than the 2014 side.
Agree.
Probably agree. Almost as good as the 2012 team. Agree.
He's saying Luke Patton.
Luke Patton for Jamie. Connor Tracy is our new Luke Patton. Oh, g'day, Paulie. Been a while, mate. The variation comes from Toby's pass selection, his first class. Paulie's watching it from maybe from a different point. And man, is such a threat coming through the middle. Certainly is. I think
it really is.
The work of the Kurt Manzo and the work of the Salmon, or if whoever's in that role, Bailey Haywood, God, they help Toby Sexton a lot.
Yes,
which helps Matt Burton a lot. You know, it's a system, man. It's a system.
I'm enjoying watching Sexton develop his game. I think you can really see it developing more so than other players, and just that combination that he has between playing off the cuff and structure. It's exciting to see. But like we said before, I think it's more to do with the system than the individual. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think he's got every chance to make that happen. Jamie says, Patton, Magic and Matty Utah are my favourite players. Well, just as a teaser to the wingers, there'll be 10 wingers to select from, and we select 2. Both of those, El Magic and Matt Utah, will be named in those 10 wingers when I do put that up. Paulie says, and he plays the same shape as any other lock, but you can see the spacing is tighter, which draws the 4-man. Nice stuff, Paulie. They if you go watch those the Broncos game, especially, plenty of the games actually, but you go watch the Broncos game, the Dragons game. Kurt Mann in that respect, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I don't know what happened there, but fun fact, in 2004, we played the Eels and Sharks the first 2 rounds. In 2014, we played the Eels and Sharks the first 2 rounds. And the only difference is we won both those games in 2004. That was Sonny Bill's debut off the bench, and I listened to it on the radio. What a fucking great day that was.
I remember watching that game, but as good as Sonny Bill's game was, that was Jamie Lyons' last game as an Eel. He walked away from the club after that, and they were matched up against each other, and he just gave him a bath. I don't think Jamie Lyons' mind was on the game, but I don't really want to take too much away from Sonny Bill. But yeah, he did leave after that.
Yeah, some great times, and also some, times are changing. I guess, letting you know there will be an interview that will be released, an exclusive podcast that will be released on All Things Bulldogs YouTube. It'll only be exclusive to the group as well on Facebook. And also I think the Dogfather will share it on Twitter. But, it's going to be a really nice listen, I think. I think it was I stumbled and bumbled a bit, but yeah, I felt it was it's going to be some nice content for you guys to listen to when I get to put it up. Just have to get the approval from the club as we do. But
so through that, do you have like more opportunities opening up to interview people as well?
Yeah, I definitely will. There'll be from that foot in the door, there will be more opportunities, probably more so for next year and the beginning of the year. I'm not really someone who wants to talk with any current players. I don't feel that they need to go into a situation or a podcast where they can just relax and not really talk too much about footy.
Yeah.
Because that's their job. That's what they do every day. That's what they, and you fanboy with them. You just can't help it. Whereas I think you can pick the brain of an ex-player if that can happen, or an ex-coach, or just an administrator. They're more likely to have a discussion about footy, and what they think about footy, and that's what I like. That's what this channel's about. So yeah, like, if the players said they wanted to come on the podcast, I'd be bloody wrapped, and I wouldn't say no. But it's not where I'm going to. I'm not, going to go out there and desperately ask for people to come on, and nor should I. Their obligation to the club is to play football, to do their job, and to do the best they can. Outside of that, they have no obligation to do, anything really. It's a club, I'm club first, player second, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I love the players and the heroes as much as everyone else, and I fanboy just as. But it's the Fox.
Yeah.
It's Jaden Ockenbaugh, Dad.
I remember meeting Jim Dimmick, and I couldn't really get many words out.
Bulldogs founded in 1934. The number 4, 74, 84, 94, 04, 14. There you go. Michael, Abra's taken over Michael's. We've got someone who comes on and has given us all these stats at the same time, mate, every year. And for the last few weeks, he's just been rolling off the stats. And
I love that our captain's number 4 as well.
Yes. Paulie says we have just so much faith in our defence, and we're so fit. The only sides that will match us are the Storm and Panthers at the moment, but we could drop a game on the run home. I'm not going to rule out it. Roosters. I'm not going to rule out Sharks. Many people rule out the Sharks. If they get it right, they're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah.
Only team I see trailing Dogs are the Roosters because of their attack, and also maybe Panthers due to their experience. Well, that's Melbourne haven't shown me the game against the Roosters. The Melbourne Storm played really well, and obviously they beat Penrith, but they still don't look like they've got out of third gear for me.
Yeah, as I mentioned to you the other time, I feel like they might not have another level. I don't know if they're peaking, but I don't think they have a level that we expect them to go to. But I could be wrong.
Jason Taylor would be a good one to talk to. Well, funny you say that, because Pete Noonan, who's come on here a couple of times, Jamie, he went to school with Jason Taylor and with Jimmy Smith from SEN. And he said he's going to try and get Jason Taylor on here. So I'd love to. I don't know if they call him Froggy, but that's how he looks to me. Just a skinny little bloke that tackled him around the ankles and chip over the top, throw a good ball. Brilliant left and right step. Good coach.
Good kicker.
Good kicker. The Roosters do trouble us, to be honest. They have so much attack. Oh, g'day, Dave. Oh, it's the Fox. Hot. Ha! Dave's over in WA, aren't you, Dave? Champion, mate. Hard worker. And a real bloody card, if you ask me. Roosters probably fancy themselves versus us, but they're worried about the Storm and Panthers. And I think we fancy ourselves versus the Storm and the Panthers. We play for 80 minutes every game. It's a froth fest for me at the moment. 100%, Paulie. It's good to have you back on here, mate. It's been a while since you've come on and said hello, so welcome back. We're now, typically, as we're looking at closing up, there's more people on the podcast than there was for most of it. So
10 o'clock, we might have to start at 10.
Anyway, I think that'll do us. WA legend. Well, hopefully the Bears get a side there, and then the Bulldogs can come play them over there, mate. That'll be good. Thanks for coming on, Dave. We're going to wrap things up now. We've covered a lot, gone in depth, which is what you guys love. And you guys have gone in depth with your comments, which is even better.
Yeah.
And
some great comments. And I think we're mostly on the same page, which is good to see.
We are. It's good. Winning or losing, we can have good, robust discussions without being idiots, and that's always good.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Thanks for coming on. I'm going to say goodbye, everyone. Well, I can do something nice here to say goodbye to everyone. Let's go. Go the Dogs. That's actually a song by a band called She Had, which are a rock band from New Zealand. So there you go. Take care, everyone. Go the Doggies.
That's it.
And well done to Ron Coote.